Hello and welcome, dear crypto friends, to this video in which we are going to further observe the behavior of Bitcoin and of the crypto market, because we want to find out where Bitcoin is headed, right? And yesterday, what happened yesterday, like to make fun of me, to make fun of my prediction, it instantly dumped after I released a video in which I was saying that Bitcoin will quite likely continue to rise. But of course, as we know, short-term fluctuations in Bitcoin are almost impossible to foresee. So the way Bitcoin will probably rise now will be wobbling around a lot. It's a lot of ups and downs. And as a general rule of thumb, the shorter the time frames that you want to analyze and make predictions of, the more you will be prone to chaotic fluctuations and the more difficult it will become to make actual predictions. And the longer the time frame, so if I go away from the daily and I go, for example, to the weekly chart, the easier it becomes to make long-term predictions, right? Because I can quite easily say, I can look at this long-term channel and I can say, okay, look, it has respected the long-term logarithmic regression channel since 2010. So I'm pretty sure that in the year 2030, Bitcoin will be a lot higher than it is now. So the longer the predictions are away, so the longer term the predictions are, the higher your accuracy will become. So you can reach accuracies of 80 or 90% if you do very long-term stuff, so like 4 or 5 years in the future. But the more short-term your predictions are, the higher the probability for random fluctuations and that you will end up being wrong. That is the rule of thumb for Bitcoin. Now, we go into the daily chart, and yesterday I said I'm still pretty sure that this is not just a dead cat bounce and that we are going to revisit this trend line. Now, will it occur in a smooth curve? Of course not. We saw that we had a dump out of nowhere, so probably it will wobble around a lot, and then when it revisits the trend line, it might dump again, and then we probably will go through it. Why am I still so optimistic that we will actually go through this trend line? Well, the reason for that is of course the dollar index, which, as we see after this bounce yesterday, which actually was the reason for why we got this drop in Bitcoin yesterday, the dollar index now is rebounding, right? Bam. And I am pretty sure that afterwards we will see another leg down, right? Normally, if we look at such structures, I mean, this here is a clear bubble structure. This was a parabolic run, right? So after a parabolic run, we normally have an A, B, C type of correction. So like A, B, C, right? And this in turn here could be a larger A leg. So A, B, C. And I think we will go down to this area again, given by this support here, because that's where bubbles normally go back to. They go about to the midway point of the entire move, like between the 0.5 and 0.618 Fibonacci support levels. And if you don't know what Fibonacci support levels are, they are a very important tool where you can say where there are probable supports in a whole move. So you watch the entire move and then you say, okay, it's very likely that we will revisit this or that support level, and they normally offer quite good support. So I think the dollar index will come back to these levels here. It will take some time. I think it will take until the end of the year or early next year. But of course, as we have seen yesterday, as soon as the dollar index does make a pump, right? It made this pump yesterday, and we can even go into the 4-hour chart and overlay Bitcoin, and we will see the crazy, hilarious anti-correlation that is just too funny to be true. I mean, as soon as the dollar index starts pumping like crazy, right? Bitcoin is going down, right? Bitcoin is going down like crazy. And here actually Bitcoin makes a top where the dollar index has a low. Now, sure, the dollar index has started dumping and Bitcoin is going kind of sideways-ish. I explained the reasons for that in one of my previous videos where I talked about whale manipulation and why that is actually occurring. Because if we compare Bitcoin to the Nasdaq, so in orange we have Bitcoin, in candlesticks we have the Nasdaq, we see how insanely correlated Nasdaq and Bitcoin are. As the dollar index was pumping yesterday, the Nasdaq was immediately dumping and Bitcoin was consequently also immediately dumping. So in order to understand if Bitcoin is making a dead cat bounce or not, or if this will really turn out to be a sustained move, as I believe, because I really think the Nasdaq is actually preparing, believe it or not. I know the sentiment is right now very bearish, but I still maintain my opinion that the Nasdaq and the stock market is actually preparing right now to make new all-time highs, believe it or not. Yes, it's crazy because everybody's super bearish. Normally this sentiment corresponds to market bottoms, okay? At market bottoms, everybody's super bearish and thinks we are going into a bear market, and the media is writing bear market, and you can be sure when the media is writing bear market, the exact opposite will actually happen, because the media is the best counter indicator which exists. Really, the media is the best counter indicator that exists. If you want to know what not to do, read the media. Read headlines on CNN, CNBC, and how all those idiots are called. They will tell you exactly the opposite of what you should do. Thanks a lot, media. That's very friendly of you for being such a good counter indicator. Thank you so much. Now, not only did we have a bullish divergence in the RSI, in the Nasdaq, but we also have a bullish divergence in the advanced decline line. And the advanced decline line is a very interesting indicator. So here we had a lower low in the price, but a higher low in the advanced decline line. And as we can read, the advanced decline line is a technical indicator that plots the difference between the number of advancing and declining stocks on a daily basis. Okay? So the price is falling, the Nasdaq is falling, while the number of stocks are actually not making a new low. So less stocks are actually dumping, more stocks are actually pumping. So this is a divergence between what the Nasdaq is doing and what the largest number of stocks are actually doing. And this is a quite bullish signal, friends. This is a quite bullish signal. And normally when that happens, it's not a super accurate indicator always, but normally divergences in the advanced decline line are, like divergences in the RSI, a pretty good indicator in order to spot market bottoms. For example, here was a divergence in the advanced decline line in October 2021. We can see it here quite nicely. What happened afterwards? A rally happened afterwards. Or here was also a good one in March 2021. What happened afterwards? A quite nice bull run happened afterwards. And of course we had a very big one in March 2020 during the pandemic crash. We had a few lower lows here in a row near the bottom, and the advanced decline line is making higher lows. So again, a pretty strong divergence, and that is normally a good sign that we get really a market reversal and that this is not a dead cat bounce. Now going back to Bitcoin, this dump, believe it or not, was actually a good thing. I didn't think it would come so early. I thought that Bitcoin would pump for a few more days and then we get a very strong dump here at the resistance line and then go through. But the fact that it is actually dumping now is actually a pretty good sign. Sebastian, what are you talking about? Are you stupid? Why should it be a good sign that Bitcoin is dumping now? Well, the stochastic RSI, which is a measure for how oversold or overbought an asset is, in the daily, gave us a signal that we are pretty overbought. Now, I was thinking that since the last times it stayed overbought for a few days, I was thinking that we would get a few green daily candles, maybe even pump until the resistance line, until we get the first bigger drop. But the fact that it is dumping already now is really not bad, because now the daily stochastic RSI is actually cooling off, and then we are nearing oversold levels in the daily. So we are primed for another longer rally situation where we can get longer sustained uptrends until the next correction. Now this can be impressively seen, for example, here. After the March 2020 low, this is a very beautiful example of such a situation. We started pumping, we see that the daily was getting already very overbought, This is actually more nicely visible in the 3-day chart, because here the 3-day was really overbought in the stochastic RSI. So we had this funny situation where it almost went back to the previous level before going into a rally. Now I think that we have a not quite dissimilar situation right now. We have this line here, right? We have this descending resistance line. So what happens? It breaks through the resistance, retests resistance, maybe we'll retest it a second time, and then we are super oversold already in the 4-hour chart, which means that we have a nice potential for a long pump. Of course, we can also see this in the daily, where even in the daily we are now retesting this descending support line. The daily is coming down and probably preparing for a next move up. Also, we should not forget, friends, that we have a kind of nice hidden bullish divergence in the daily. As always, they are all over the place. Here we can see the prices were falling, lower lows in the price, but higher lows in the RSI. The RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is another excellent tool that tells us how overbought or oversold an asset is. So because we have this hidden bullish divergence in the daily, we have the situation that now the indicators are cooling off again because of this last dump yesterday. And as I said, the dollar index will probably continue to dump. And as we have seen, the advanced decline line in the Nasdaq is also giving us a bullish divergence. All these things in combination with the Fed that is suddenly telling us, oh yeah, probably we will make a pause with interest rate hikes starting from September, contrary to what they said previously, that they will raise like crazy berserks until early next year to 3% interest rates. But of course now they are thinking, yeah, maybe we are crashing the market and causing a huge recession. So maybe it's not the best idea to continue raising like crazy psychopaths. We all knew that something like this would happen, or at least the viewers of this channel knew it. So now, in my opinion, the probability has increased very much that this dump here actually was quite nice. The RSI is falling, and we can see that especially in the 4-hour chart, the RSI was really high. We were actually at super high levels of 83. So the RSI in the 4-hour chart is not often on those super oversold levels, but now this dump made us come down quite nicely. So I think this is now preparing. We are retesting this support line and preparing for a next move upwards. But friends, could I be wrong? Please keep in mind, yes. The shorter term your predictions about crypto and the crypto market, the higher the probability that you are wrong. So the shorter the time frames, the higher the probability that you are going into a random walk scenario where your probability for accuracy really comes to 50%, okay? Even if you employ good indicators and use accurate data, your probability will be not much higher than 50%. You could just throw the dice. But the longer the time frames are going into the future, the more accurate your predictions become, and you can reach 70-80% accuracy if you make very long-term trades. So I'm talking about multiple years of time frame. But in the very short term, please be aware that I could be wrong. There is still a non-zero probability that all these divergences, bullish divergences, are just a trick and that we still will go lower from here. There is a non-zero probability for that to happen. Please keep that in mind. I could be wrong. I was wrong before. I will be wrong in the future. But I will always be honest with you, friends, and I will say, okay, I was wrong here. What can we learn from this? What can we learn from this together? It is a journey. It is a journey on which I would be happy if you would join me here on this illustrious small channel. So I will keep you updated on all developments in the crypto market. I will make short-term predictions, which, as I said, will not be super accurate sometimes, but the longer-term predictions, if we now go to the weekly and monthly chart, you can be very sure that my long-term predictions about the monthly behavior of Bitcoin on the long-term trend line will be quite accurate, because as we have seen, the long-term regression channel is always respected. It is always staying within the bounds of the channel, and I think that this is a very good model. So I think, friends, we can make some really good accurate predictions for the long term, for the future, but I will try my best, of course, to make also shorter term predictions. So I hope you liked this video. As I said, please like and subscribe, and see you in the next update video tomorrow, and let's see what surprises Bitcoin has for us in store today. See you tomorrow, friends. Bye.